Imagine the sights and sounds of a busy summer day in 1518 Strasbourg. Merchants hawking their wares, children chasing pigeons, the clatter of cartwheels on cobblestones. But on a quiet street, something strange is about to happen. This is Frau Trophäa. No one knows what possessed her to start dancing, but her movements are strange, erratic, unsettling. Some neighbors are worried, others confused. This is just the beginning, and it's about to get a lot weirder. And just like that, others join in. It's as if whatever compelled Frau Trophäa to dance is contagious. Days turn into weeks, and the dance spreads like wildfire. People are dancing in the streets, in the market squares, everywhere. And the music? That started on its own too. Pots and pans banging, impromptu instruments. It's unsettling, to say the least. The people of Strasbourg are starting to panic. Shops are shuttered. Parents are keeping their kids close. The dancing plague, as some are calling it, has a grip on Strasbourg, and no one knows what to do about it. Within a month, 400 people are dancing. This is getting out of control. Word has reached the Strasbourg City Council. They're looking at the reports, seeing the numbers. This dancing plague is no laughing matter. Something needs to be done. But what? Physicians are called in to examine the afflicted dancers, bloodletting, checking humors. Remember, this is the 16th century. Cutting-edge medical science, this is not. The diagnosis, an excess of hot blood. Let's just say their understanding of human physiology needed a little work. The proposed solution, even more dancing. Yep, you heard that right. The council orders a wooden stage to be built, musicians hired, all in an attempt to, and I'm quoting here, draw the evil humors out. They really thought this was a good idea. As you can imagine, forcing a bunch of people who can barely stand to dance more might not be the best medical advice. But hey, hindsight is 20/20, right? You can't force people to dance for days on end without consequences. These poor souls are exhausted, blistered feet, aching muscles. They're at their breaking point. This cure, as you can imagine, was worse than the disease. People weren't just getting tired, they were dying. This dancing plague was turning from strange to terrifying and tragic. In their desperation, some people turned to religion. Saint Vitus was the patron saint of, among other things, dancing. Ironically, he was also believed to inflict people with the urge to dance. So, yeah, they maybe picked the wrong saint. Weeks have passed, and still, the dancing continues. It's a shell of what it once was, a haunting reminder of a city gripped by fear and a plague with no cure. We don't have video footage of the dancing plague, thank goodness for small favors. But we do have first-hand accounts. The fear and confusion in Strasbourg are palpable. Imagine coming face to face with this madness. One chronicler wrote, "They danced without joy, as if in a trance." Another described the streets being filled with those seized with a frenzy, their faces twisted in a strange mix of exhaustion and ecstasy. This wasn't just a bizarre spectacle. It was a human tragedy. Families torn apart, lives lost. The cost of the dancing plague went far beyond the dance floor. Strasbourg eventually returned to a semblance of normalcy. But the question remains, what caused this bizarre and terrifying outbreak? Our minds and bodies are connected in ways we still don't fully understand. Sometimes, stress and fear can manifest themselves physically. It's like our minds are trying to tell us something is wrong, but not in a way we can easily recognize. Enter mass psychogenic illness, or MPI for short. It's like a mass freakout, except instead of freaking out mentally, your body takes over. Think of it like this. Remember that time everyone in your class was convinced they had the same illness, even though it was probably all in their heads? Yeah, it's kind of like that, but on a larger and frankly, much weirder scale. Life in 1518 wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, even without uncontrollable dancing, famine, disease outbreaks, even syphilis. Yikes. People were stressed. Add to that the ever-present fear of divine wrath, and you've got a recipe for some serious psychological distress. Could that explain the dancing plague? It seems the people of Strasbourg were primed for an outbreak of mass psychogenic illness. And let's be honest, if you were going to snap, wouldn't uncontrollable dancing be as good a way as any? What if I told you the dancing plague wasn't a result of psychological stress, but a fungus? Not just any fungus. Ergot, a nasty piece of work that grows on rye. You know, that bread they ate back then. See, when consumed, ergot can cause ergotism. We're talking hallucinations, convulsions, even gangrene. Not exactly a party. But there was a time when people thought dancing was a symptom of ergot poisoning. A pretty horrifying thought when you consider the alternative. Could this fungus, this silent intruder in their food supply, be behind the dancing plague of Strasbourg? It's a theory that's been kicked around a bit, and frankly, it makes a certain amount of sense. But here's the thing. Ergotism usually leaves people too weak to even stand, let alone dance for days. So, could ergot be the culprit? It's a possibility, sure, but there's still a lot we just don't know for sure. Remember St. Vitus, the patron saint of dancing, who could also inflict you with a dancing frenzy. Let's talk about him. The people of Strasbourg certainly believed in his power, for better or worse. Some historians think the dancing plague wasn't just a medical mystery. It was a religious experience, driven by fear, guilt, or a desire to connect with the divine. Maybe they thought they were dancing for St. Vitus, hoping to appease him. Or maybe, remember, this was a time when religion and medicine were basically best buddies, with the dancers seen as blessed, cursed, or just plain sick. The answer, as with most things in history, is probably a little bit of all of the above. Ultimately, the role of religion in the dancing plague, like so much else about this event, remains a mystery. Food for thought the next time you're busting a move on the dance floor. Believe it or not, Strasbourg wasn't alone. A century earlier, there was a similar outbreak of dancing mania along the Rhine River. This thing, whatever it was, had a knack for making a comeback. History is full of examples of strange collective behavior. Think about it. The Salem witch trials, people losing their minds over tulips, or even, dare I say it, viral trends on the internet. We humans can be a strange and suggestible bunch. As for the dancing plague of Strasbourg, it eventually faded away, just as mysteriously as it began. The authorities did their best to prevent another outbreak, banning music, forbidding public dancing, just in case. Strasbourg learned to move on, but the memory of the dancing plague lingered, a chilling reminder that even in the quietest corners of history, some mysteries continue to dance in the shadows. The dancing plague of 1518. It sounds like something out of a medieval fever dream, doesn't it? And yet, it happened. Hundreds of people, compelled by an invisible force, dancing themselves to exhaustion, to injury, to death. Was it mass psychogenic illness, a reaction to the crushing stress of their times? Or was it something else entirely, something we still don't understand about the human mind and body? The dancing plague might be a thing of the past, but it's a stark reminder of the mysteries we still haven't solved. It's a reminder that even in the 21st century, we're still dancing with the unknown. So, what do you think, my history-loving friends? What caused the dancing plague? Share your thoughts, theories, and maybe a little healthy paranoia down in the comments.